Welcome to the third and final installment of WORT's Innovations in Democracy series. We've been exploring new ways of using digital technology to expand participatory democracy to a larger population of diverse citizens. In today's episode, we focus on the ideas of online deliberation and voting. Casaleggio is a CEO and partner of Casaleggio Associati, an online consultancy company, and president and founder of the Rousseau Association, the direct democracy platform of the 5-Star Movement. He lectures on artificial intelligence, blockchain, and issues related to the fourth industrial revolution in relation to the effects of the economy. Davide Casaleggio joins us from Ivrea, Italy. Welcome.
Hello.
Each of you perhaps give us an example of an online democracy project that you have worked on that you think best exemplifies the work that you do. Davide Casaleggio, tell us about some of your work. Where have you worked on online democracy?
Well, the project I've been working on for the last 15 years is what today is known under the name of Rousseau. And this is a platform of participation that is used by the 5-Star Movement in Italy that in 10 years, actually 8 years, managed to go to govern Italy. So today it's the most represented political formation in Italy. And we managed to do this, getting people involved directly, voting online for their representatives. So people just raised their hand online and said, I would like to be an MP, and the other people would vote for him or her. And that's how we got today 300 MPs in Parliament and 14 in European Parliament and many thousands in various town councils. So this is an experiment that we managed to get in place in these years, and today it's something that is used by 170,000 people, which are the members of the 5-Star Movement, and we're doing loads of stuff.
Were your ministers selected or appointed entirely electronically, or did you have face-to-face meetings as well?
Well, the ministers are another thing that comes after the elections, at least in Italy, comes after the elections, but they were presented beforehand. We were the only political formation that actually presented the ministers beforehand. But what we did is involve people to vote for all the MPs. This is what we focused on, because the MPs are the representatives of the 5-Star Movement and are there because the members, these 170,000 people, actually chose them online with an online vote. We then voted for the program. We had a year and a half to vote on single issues of the program we presented at the last elections. And every week we discussed with experts what the singles topics were, and then we voted on which direction we should take on single issues. And then we had big votes like the one that allowed this government to gave the green light to this government, which was the world record of an online vote in one single day, with 70,000 people that voted in one day online with binding votes, which we're very happy to have all those people involved. And so we've been doing a lot of votes since 2012 to today, all binding votes. So MPs are binded to what actually gets voted on Rousseau.
So this topic really has two major components to it. And one is the sort of idea of deliberation and discussion. And the other has to do with voting. And it seems to me that those are two very separate concepts, in that in the United States and most countries, ballots are intended to be secret. No one should know, and they need to be secure. Whereas in online discussion, those are generally very public and available and accessible to everyone, so that everybody knows who is there, what's being said, and who's saying what. So let's take a look at the voting end of this first. Near Chetri, you mentioned blockchains, and it may be useful to our listeners to sort of explain what that is, and how does that relate to the security of these online voting systems. We have a lot of people who are advocating for paper ballots, for example, because they don't trust even the readers, that read the ballots in the computers. There's a feeling that they can be manipulated, that votes are easily lost. Why should we trust digital technology to record our vote? Davide Casaleggio, what does Five Star Movement do to secure its voting process? How do you make sure that those electronic votes are not hacked or not lost? Why should people trust it?
Well, we actually had a lot of experience in the hacking part, because we obviously the votes we've had on Rousseau were very valuable for the community. So there was a lot of attempts in the last 8 years from when we started online voting. So we actually managed to define a lot of ways to secure these votes. At the moment, we are using our normal DB to secure the votes, but they are separate. So votes and voters are not linked together. So not even the administrator knows who's voted what. And this is one of the most important things when you are defining a voting system, that not even the administrator should be able to see what happens, or at least what people are singly voting. On the other side, we have an external company that verifies that the system during the vote, so during the period of vote, is not touched in any way, not even by us. So this is an external verification of the fact that both the code of voting, so what happens to your click when it actually goes there, and the DB, the database, is not touched during the vote. Then we have a notary that assists during the period of the vote to see that all the procedures that we defined for the voting are followed. So even the assistance, everything around the vote is done correctly. So we have these external controls to verify that the vote is done correctly. On blockchain, and I'm very interested in the blockchain vote, and on that we actually experimented a voting system that we created on Monero last year. Monero is a type of blockchain that is a privacy blockchain. That means that today it's used to exchange money, but without knowing from who to who it actually goes. So not even someone looking into the blockchain itself knows what journey that money has done. And that's the same principle we are using to experiment the blockchain system we've created. And we did an experiment, a live experiment last year with 80 people that actually voted what they were going to eat. But that was a first experiment, live experiment with an app we created. And on that, we think that that's going to be the future of how to deal with distributed certification of a single vote. So that's probably the future of what will come.
Let's follow up on your lead and turn to the deliberative aspect of this. During the pandemic, I think all of us have gotten more used to the idea of video conferencing, but as opposed to meeting in person. But many of us still find it a little alienating. And how do you encourage people to participate in a technology that, no matter how advanced it is not quite the same as being in the same room with a bunch of your fellow citizens? Davide Casaleggio, sounds like most of the constituents you deal with are pretty internet savvy and are used to this kind of communication. Do you do outreach, though, to people who may find this strange and unfamiliar? And how do you do that?
Yes, I think it's just a question of culture. When you were talking about the paper ballot that is normal for everyone, it wasn't normal for everyone when we started off with paper ballot because people didn't know how to read and write. So it's just a question of getting people with the right culture. We've been doing a lot of physical events around Italy to explain how to interact and how to do things and choose people and choose the various topics. And I must say that today there's a much wider range of age that is participating in on Rousseau, because people are more used to doing internet banking, talking with WhatsApp with someone. So people are used to internet. It's not true that people are not used to using internet. And even in places like Estonia, where today 44% of the people at elections vote online from home, it's mostly the elderly people that are voting, that are using the online service. So they started off getting the youngsters on, and we too started off with the youngsters because they were the first ones that wanted to try out new things. But in the end, voting from home is actually easier for elderly people because they can participate in the public life without having to go to the ballot and maybe with difficulties or whatever. So I don't think we should be putting online versus offline all the time. I think internet can integrate in a lot of things the participation of people. If we look at Australia, they have rules for online voting that allow people that are further away than 20 kilometers from the ballot or things like that. They go, or people that are disabled in some way that can't go to the ballot. So we have to think of how to use this system to integrate the voting system that we have today. And on the other side, we have to think of how this new system can allow us to participate in new ways that were not available before. So we can actually interact during the life of the elected person. Beforehand, we could just elect the person, and then after 4 or 5 years, see if he have done a good job. So we have to think of new ways of using this technology.